Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill. She's CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top leaders in the industry.
Yeah, and I'm excited because we have a very cool guest today. Helping provide us with empowerment is a seasoned, licensed real estate professional, Michael Wright. Not only is Michael a real estate pro, he's also gone through a transformational period in his life. It's very inspiring, and he's here to share his story with us today. So welcome to the show, Michael. Glad to have you aboard.
Wow. Thank you guys so much. It's I hope I can live up to that introduction.
Oh, you definitely can. You definitely can. There's some great video coverage of Michael on YouTube, so definitely check that out. But for the uninitiated, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a father of two. I have two boys. One's 2.5. One just turned 9 months old. So it is by far a circus on a roller coaster at my house with my wife and
times.
I. But it's over the last, say, 1.5 to 2 years, my life has become filled with bliss, and I'm having the time of my life right now.
That is awesome. It's so funny that very similar to, do you know Larry Sprung? He's a certified financial planner, similar in that regard, in that he really is preaching to find your joy. And it's wonderful to hear, that you've experienced that. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that transformational period in your life and what happened?
So if we go way back to, let's say, like my first professional career, up until about 1.5 to 2 years ago, my life was full of anxiety and stress. I would set unattainable goals, wake up in the morning, felt like I should have woken up earlier, and put my head down, grind all day until I couldn't work anymore, and then slept as little as possible, woke up and did it all again, and was wondering why I wasn't achieving the goals that I wanted to achieve and why I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. It was not a sustainable method. I wasn't paying any attention to my exercise or nutrition or health. Was eating fast food regularly, being on the road, both in the real estate career and my previous career. And it was, but I didn't recognize that I was unhappy. I thought that I was just living like this. I just thought it was normal. That's
a tough spot to be in, because you think that you're doing your all. You're setting high goals because that's what we're all taught to do, right?
Yep.
So a very tough spot to be in. And what kind of changes did you make then? Or when did you come to the realization that, hey, this isn't what it's all about?
Right. So I have this is one of the few dates that I remember. Like I barely remember my mom's birthday, but
we won't tell.
Like, it was June 26th of 2022. I was hanging out with some friends that I hadn't seen in a few years. And when I was hanging out with them, I was like reflecting back to the last time we were all together. And I looked down and I said, I put on a little bit of weight since the last time. And they're like, yeah, you're definitely over 200 pounds. And I've never been over 200 pounds in my life. I came close a couple times, but then always been like, I was 150 in high school, and then college, 180, 185, and then between 185 and like 190 for the majority of my adult life. And they're like, oh, you're definitely over 200. And that like really scared me, because like, that is not a healthy weight for me to be. Mm-hmm. So the next day, I don't keep a scale in the house, so I went out and found one in the wild. I went to Bed Bath & Beyond, took one off the shelf, stepped on it, and I was 199.6 pounds. And I remember the date and the amount because I texted everyone who I was with the picture saying, I'm not over 200, you guys are all wrong. But like some things, probably a lot of things had to change, because I was relieved but also stressed because I was on the verge of a number I didn't want to cross.
Yeah.
And that really caused it spurred on some inner reflection of, am I happy? Am I living a purposeful life? Am I who I want to be? And the answers to a lot of those questions was no. So yeah, that's sort of where and how it started.
That's so deep, and so many people out there are probably going through this same experience. And so how did you, change your life or turn your life around?
Everything is a process. So I would say I changed the direction, but I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. Everything is a progression. Everything is a process. But actually I started seeing a therapist so I recognized there needed to be a change around June. In mid-August, I finally got the courage to go see a therapist. That had worked. I don't want to get into it necessarily. I will expand on it, but for time's sake, I won't get into it right now. In my early 20s, I started seeing a therapist for a short time as well. So I drew out on that experience of talking to a professional about sort of what I wanted my life to become, or how I wanted to act, or who I wanted to be. So I started with that. And then in October, thereabouts, I started reading Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More. Mm-hmm. And this has been, I've only found out in hindsight that this was more or less the transformation, or the beginning of the transformation. Because inside that book, there are morning and evening rituals that I started to incorporate into my life. So the therapist allowed me to sort of like get out what was inside, pay attention to my thoughts, understand that I wasn't the center of the universe, and I wasn't as important as I thought I was, and we're all part of a grander plan, if you will. So releasing some of that, and then getting into these morning and evening rituals just to change up my routine really started the transformation.
Yeah, it's funny that you say you realized that we're nothing special, but that's not a negative. When we say that, it's not that it's a negative. It's more like we realize that, yeah, we're one person in the universe. There's a lot of things going on, and we are special. We are unique, but we're not special in what we're going through in that, we can turn to other people for help. You can relate to other people because we're all kind of going through similar stuff. And I think a lot of what you're doing, first of all, I applaud you for speaking to a therapist, because that's something that I think years past, that was something that was very frowned upon. But nowadays, it's been demystified, which is wonderful, because it is such a worthwhile experience to go through. And, I have a friend who's going through therapy now, and when we talked with him before, we knew he needed it. And he was like, no. And then something happened. He came to the realization. He went, and then he was totally converted. Now he's a preacher to it. It's
it's so like getting over the fear, because there is like talking out loud to someone professional. There's nothing to lose.
Right.
You could not enjoy it and then stop. Right. Nobody says that if you start, you have to continue for the rest of your life. You could have one session and be like, well, that didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Or you could say that was the most impactful experience of my life. I need to keep going for as long as it takes.
Yeah, fantastic. And also, that's me as a Catholic, going through confession is a very similar experience, because you're hearing it out loud and you're going, all right, that's really not that bad.
Yeah.
I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm nothing special. I'm nothing unique in that way.
Right. So I'm not actually here to promote it, but I do host a dad's group. For the first Wednesday of every month. And in that, like when I have a disagreement with my wife, I'll bring it up at the group, and to your point, saying it out loud and then having someone repeat the situation back to me, maybe with some adjusted details, and I'm like, oh, I am wrong.
And she's always right, Mike.
Yep.
She's
my wife
right.
is listening.
She's always right.
She's always right. Absolutely.
No, she's amazing.
But and to that point, it really is. You need that network of support. You need a team. You need people behind you in order to bounce these things off of, and it's a necessary thing for business owners, for community people, for everybody. I mean, it's just something to do. So you also you changed the way you did certain practices. One of the things I've heard you talk about is meditation. I'd like you to bring that up and talk about that.
Sure. So if we compare who I was in June of 2020 versus who I am right now, I would say I'm not even the same person. Like one of sort of the prep questions was, how are you different?
Yeah.
It is every aspect. My nutrition is different. My mindset is different. My exercise routine is different. My activities are different. My overall interpretation and perception of the world is different, which seems dramatic. But it's been a bit of a dramatic change. So to kind of pick up at reading this, The Power of One More by Ed Milet, these morning and evening rituals, I didn't dissect what was included. I just said, this guy's successful. I'm going to do what he does. And I put no thought into it.
Oh.
And then, so from June to November, in my efforts to lose weight, I wanted to get down to 160. I lost 5 pounds. So 6 months, I lost 5 pounds. Not great. From November to May, so another 6 months, I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's fantastic. What was the difference? And I thought that it was because in November I went to a roundtable on nutrition and I started meal prepping. I thought that I started exercising more because instead of like getting healthier to keep up with my kids, I started playing tennis. And I thought like maybe I drank a little less because I read this book about how to improve your brain health. And I thought I was sleeping better because of this Sleep Smarter book that I read. And I thought that it was all about these information and activities that I was incorporating in my life that all were sort of synergistically bringing me to where I wanted to be. And then a client of mine gave me the book Supermind, which talks about the benefits of transcendental meditation. And I didn't even know what that was, but the topic came up. She gave me the book. And it said the people who start to meditate naturally become more mindful of their activities, live a healthier lifestyle, stop drinking, stop smoking, eat better, exercise more. And I was like,
that's
wait
everything you wanted.
I'm like,
How?
When did I start meditating? And it was when I started the morning and evening routines with Ed Milet back in October. So it was like maybe 30 days, let's say, of getting out of my own head and through this process to where whenever I wanted to start a discipline, it just naturally took place. There was no forcing the self-discipline. It was just like a natural integration into the way my brain was being wired.
Wow.
I find that very powerful. And it's interesting because I think when you tell someone that, it makes sense. When you go through it experientially, that's something. Because I went through something similar. I'm a cancer survivor, 8 years out now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And it's certainly something that it's turned me into an advocate for, people who are going through treatment, people, families of people who are going through treatment and supporting them. When I went through my experience, I found that I naturally, I focused on things. I focused on the quiet moments in breathing, breathing in, breathing out deep. And it's everything you said. It was like I naturally just started doing things a little differently. Mm-hmm. At that time, I ate a lot better. At that time, I started working out. I was staying in a hotel in New Jersey for my treatments away from home. Wow. So it was solitary. Yeah. And there was a gym in there. And I'm like, you know what? I should start working out. And it wasn't anything, there was no powerful moment. It's like you said, I kind of look back and I go, oh, I just started doing that.
Right.
It's interesting the way your mind and your body just work on that to help you get through those times. And then making it a part of your habits is another thing. So can you expand a little bit on that meditation now? And how is that working for you today?
The best way I can describe it, I'm far from perfect. There are still bad days. There are still bad reactions. Sure. There are still, or maybe reactions that I would like to have, be different. So the way that I've recognized the progress is on days that I don't execute my morning routine, I don't feel as good as I normally do. And I thought initially, once I recognized that, I was like, well, geez, maybe I should like stop meditating. Maybe I should stop doing my morning routine, because on the days that I miss it, I don't feel that great. And then I woke up, I was like, hey, dum-dum, you feel really good when you do these things. Why would you go back? Why would you stop doing those things
Right.
and just not do anything? Because like how you felt on days that you don't do it is how you felt every single day before you started, which is why like, and on those days where I feel sort of sluggish and I feel a little bit more anxious, I recognize that like that's why I woke up with drinking a cup of coffee, and that's why I had another cup of coffee after that, and I would drink coffee from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, and it was just to get rid of or try to suppress that anxious, sluggish feeling, to be more present, more aware, and more vibrant. But I don't really drink coffee anymore, especially on days that I get my morning routine in, because I have energy throughout the entire day.
Now, you shared with us that you have 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very close in age and they're very young. How do you stay the course? Because you can go and miss a day because their kids are taking over your life, and they will for the next, 18 years or 16 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you stay laser focused on your routine, knowing that by doing this routine, it puts you in the best possible light and feeling?
Well, it is, I think, sir, it's an important point that you brought up. It's the priority, right? My wife, my children are my priority. And for me to be the best version of myself, I need to be selfish in taking care of myself.
So you're getting no sleep. You're waking up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Well, so in the book Sleep Smarter, which has 14, 21, 28, some amount of strategies towards the most effective sleep.
Okay.
So I've implemented a lot of those strategies. I have a pretty firm, it's not perfect, but a pretty firm bedtime of between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So I'm in bed, try to be in bed by 9 o'clock. And then this morning I woke up at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Now, well, let me rephrase that. This morning my son woke me up at 4 o'clock. And
we kind of knew that anyway.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we figured.
2.5,
He's
9
not
months.
watching Law and Order.
But instead of saying, oh my God, I just woke up at 4 o'clock. How am I going to get through the day? It was, how special is this? He needs me. I'm able to give him what he needs. Wow. He's my alarm clock. I don't set an alarm clock. And now I get to start my day feeling the warmth and energy and love of my son in one of the most peaceful parts of the day, and just have that intimate time with him that someday he won't need that anymore. And I got 7 hours of sleep. And then I put him down around 4:30. I had breakfast, and then I meditated, and then I worked out, and I did a little bit of work, and I came here. And the rest of the day is going to be fantastic as well. It's not about forcing it, because there are days where I sleep until 6:30 or I sleep until 7:30, and I don't get that morning routine in. But it's getting back to it, right? It's being, I guess, having some flexibility. I don't know I forget if it's called psychological flexibility or cognitive flexibility, but going from yes or no to finding the gray and being like, all right, I skipped a day, but that doesn't mean that I have to take 3 months off. Just get back to it tomorrow.
Yeah. You don't have to be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And just do it again. And I love what you did with your reactions, because that's something that Ryan Holiday writes a lot about in his books, in the Stoic philosophy, is that, you can't control certain things. You can't control your son waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but you can certainly control your reaction to that. Mm-hmm. And what a mind shift. And really, you're 100% right. How fantastic is that you have somebody, a little person that needs you, and how wonderful is that bond? And so kudos to you for going that route.
Thank you. But it hasn't been like that. When I had my first son, I was still in the old mindset.
Yeah.
And it was still so I can really remember those mornings or those evenings, 2 o'clock in the morning, going, oh my God, or starting my day with stress of just what's going to go wrong today? How do I prevent it? And I woke up at 6, but I should have woke up at 5 because I have my whole calendar stacked from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock. And, how am I going to get it all done now that I'm already an hour behind? But now it's that has melted away.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Michael Wright, Douglas Elam Real Estate. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
So I'm going to coin a phrase now because you made me think of it. Sure. And I don't know if we should probably trademark this. I kind of like this. Reprogramming your reaction.
Ooh, I love that.
Ooh.
Isn't that sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Because your brain is in essence a program, like especially the subconscious. So my business coach and Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, a lot of the you'll hear it a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different times. But even Joe Dispenza, which if anyone listening hasn't checked him out, like definitely check out any podcast that has Dr. Joe Dispenza on it. We have about, let's say, 80,000 thoughts a day. Or I think 40,000 thoughts a day.
I think you were right, 80,000
80?
personally, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, DB?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so, but the majority of them, over 80%, are the same thoughts that we had yesterday.
Huh.
And it's just subconscious programming. So the more we think a certain thought, the stronger that neurological pathway becomes. And 95% of our brain is subconscious brain matter. 5% is conscious brain matter. So if 80% of our thoughts are the same thoughts that we had yesterday, repetitive, subconscious, and only 5% of our cognitive ability is conscious, how do we get out of our own way? How do we reprogram our negative thoughts, our negative beliefs, or the beliefs that are no longer serving us? There's a great podcast, I wish I remembered who it was, but the title is Helpful, Not True, where in essence, you can make an argument and almost disprove anything. So what are the beliefs that are holding you back that you can then reprogram your brain to think about it a different way?
I'm sure as you were making these changes, it was noticeable to those around you. Were there comments or misconceptions? Like, what were some of the things that came up as you were making these changes?
So from my family, when I started losing weight, they said, "Are you okay? Are you healthy? You don't look good."
Oh, wow. Okay.
You're losing too much weight. You're too skinny. And I'm like, I'm healthy. Like I have energy all day. I feel great. And they're like, I don't know. You're not eating right. You're not doing, like, it was a lot of, it came from concern, but I looked and was acting different. So they were sort of fearful of what I was turning into. But now that like I've been this way for a few months, they've sort of got on board. And
so you're well researched. You've gone through this transformation. What's next for you? Like, what's on the horizon?
It's definitely continuing down the path that I'm on. Really trying to recognize the triggers that bring me back to the subconscious programming that I'm trying to get away from. Right? So if I get an email or a call or text about something, that reaction is still inside me of being like, all right, I got to take care of this right now, or what's going to go wrong. And it's recognizing triggers like that start me down the subconscious routine of being anxious and looking out for things that could happen that wouldn't be in my favor. So that's one thing, and I'm also in the process of reading the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. Hopefully 10X will be in the future.
Nice.
Now I have a lot of books that I'm adding to my my reading list here. So as we kind of come to a close, I want to make sure that we get across, if there was one thought that you wanted our listener to really kind of get out of our conversation today, what would that one thought be?
So I have two thoughts. The first would be to ask for help. And the reason behind that, and I'll try and sum this up quickly. When someone helps another person, there are actually 3 groups of people that benefit. So just the act of someone holding a door open for someone gives the person that gets the door held, they feel great. The person that's holding the door feels great. The people that witness the act of kindness also feel great. So if you ask for help, you are contributing to the abundance of the universe, because you're asking for help. You're giving someone the opportunity to feel great about helping, right? When someone asks you for help and you're able to give it, it feels great, right?
Yes. It's selfish almost.
And when you receive help, that also feels really good. And when you witness it, you get the same. My coach calls it the dose. You get dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins when you witness or participate in the act of helping others. So ask for help, because you're actually doing a good thing by asking for help. You're giving to others. You're adding value to the universe by asking for help. The second thing is that if you're interested in taking this journey, I've put together a free platform, let's say, that will guide you for a full year with text messages every few days to implement the morning and evening routines that have worked for me. So if you're interested, send me a text at 631-614-6140. That's 631-614-6140, and we can go on this journey together.
That's fantastic, Michael. And we can just hear it in your voice and how you're sharing with the audience, that you're really, excited. You're really, feeling that this is the right path that you should take so that you can get to the different stages and levels that you would like to accomplish.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see where the journey brings us. And I'm going to take you up on your offer. So I think what we'll do is we should schedule some time in the calendar for a year from now, and we'll see how I've progressed.
I would love that.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
I think that'd be pretty awesome.
I think that's a podcast in itself. We have to follow Ray on his journey.
Oh, I don't know about that, but at the end of it,
we'll do a check-in.
At the end of it, we'll talk about the success, and I'll be checking in with Michael. So thank you so much for being with us today. Where can we contact you? I know you gave us your cell phone. Is there other information you'd like to share?
Sure. So we're redesigning michaelwrightrealestate.com. So perhaps by the time this launches, unlikely, but maybe by mid-March, michaelwrightrealestate.com will be live and good to go. 631-614-6140 is the cell phone. Reach me anytime. And then michael.wright at elliman.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being with us today, Michael.
I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. Hope is like the sun, which, as we journey towards it, cast the shadow of our burden behind us. Samuel smiles.
My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of National Community College, 90.3 WHPC.